Hey guys, welcome back to another Patreon process walkthrough video. So today I'll be talking about a piece I worked on last month. This video was supposed to be done since last month, but my schedule was super tight. So how life works. So I just got to do this. Either way, I'm happy and excited to finally sit down and share everything that went into this decision and struggles and some lessons I learned along the way and how I built up the character and the story behind it. So let's dive into the video.
Right, so this actually the first set of the painting. So this old concept of idea actually came down from when I was bored. Like I got an idea of maybe I should just draft down a samurai. So that's when I draft this first sketch. It was a sketch on my sketch pad. I will show you guys that later. So the idea was to show this sort of like a lone samurai walking in the woods, because when I first got this pose I felt like, okay, how can I make these old pose and setting to not just be like a character looking at the camera. I can actually add a little bit of a story to it. So that's when I started. Sorry for that. Yeah, that's when I started with this sketch right here. I was like, I wanted the cat to show the character from the back. Maybe she's walking in the woods. So then maybe the mats, their demise, they saw a rock monster or a demon. They were fighting the castle. But I was like, it felt a little bit off with that sort of idea. That was my first idea for this piece. But I didn't actually draft that down. I got that in my imagination. So I was like, I wanted the camera angle of the character to be like maybe there's a sort of like a tree at the back here. Sorry for that. Maybe yeah, there's sort of like a tree at the back here. Like this, we go like a tree like this. Then maybe our camera is here showing the character from the back. But I can't actually figure my head all around that, That's when I was like, okay, maybe I should just draft the character from the back, just a random pose. Maybe the camera is from the top instead of the sideways idea I got before. That's when I draft the sketch down. When I did the sketch, I was actually happy because I was like, I can't believe I got all of this idea from like a boring day. Then I moved to the composition of painting the character from the back. This piece was actually quite a tough one for me because, like, painting a wolf and a character from the back, which I don't actually have a reference from. This whole entire idea is from my imagination. Then, when I added the base color from the hair and the outfit, I was like, okay, where is the light coming from? When you painting sort of something like this complex, before doing anything you have to think about the type of setting you aiming for, the type of background your character is in. Then I already knew my character is on sort of like a snow sort of background already. That's when I thought I won't actually paint something as bright, contrasting like all the works I've always been doing. Then I decided, let me use this sort of like cool sort of dark color, sort of bluish color to start the painting, especially when you're doing a character with black outfit or black hair. Blue sort of cool color usually shines much more brighter than using other color. It depends on the scene and the type of style you're using as an artist. So that's my personal preference on that. And also, after doing that, I moved to creating the shadows and the light from for the character. So the light coming from the top, it bounced to the hair area. So that's what actually caused the light here. And in the this sort of like Chinese airplane she go on ahead. So the design, when I go to these points in the artwork, I feel like it's actually looking good already, but there's sort of something off with this particular area where the outfit and hair matched up together. I didn't actually know how to quite break the sort of like silhouette of the hair and the outfit. It felt too close together, and I was like, maybe this sort of like contrasting warm sort of color will make it look better. I think this sort of things is the reason why some artists actually usually paint the background plus the character, but I don't actually do that because it's a lot much more complicated when you're doing all of that stuff together, especially when you're painting on your phone. Because that's where I do most of my work. And yeah, so moving to the character, let me the character's base color for the skin. Let me turn off the skin tone here. um yeah, yeah. So moving to the back of the character, I was actually overwhelmed by but this sort of like, how would I put this sort of like details I go put in the um silhouette of the character's back, because I you gotta have to figure out where the spine is actually going and where to add your shadows. Your shadows must not be too harsh on the character. It must look sort of natural to make it feel much more relatable and much more feeling like snow sort of type setting, to not make it too overwhelming to the eye to look at. So um painting the back of the character is actually something that it's a little bit much more complex sometimes than when you're painting a full-blown facial face of a character, because it's something we all have always like been studying, especially when you begin your art. But painting some of like character from the back or any of 3D perspective sort of setting, it's actually quite hard to do that. So um this sort of setting, when I painted finished painting the air, I actually felt like the air looks good, but it's didn't quite reach my expectation of what I thought rather I thought I would be able to create, because I actually didn't have a good sort of reference for this piece. But yeah, but when I got to this part, I felt okay, maybe if this works out, fine. If it doesn't, fine too. So I moved to adding much more shadows to the character's back. Then adding this sort of like bluish sort of color coming from the top here. Sorry. Yeah. Adding sort of like blue, sort of cool tone color coming from the top, from the sky, bouncing on the character. It shows like the character is in this sort of like warm, cool tone. Especially if you're not using something like bright, saturated color, because mostly when you use something too bright on characters like this, it actually makes it feel like maybe she's in the sunny weather. But using cool tones bouncing on the character's body is actually something quite um it gives you the balance between the background and the character, even though you haven't seen the background yet. When you this sort of stuff, how would I put this? This sort of stuff help you more when to imagine before creating something. Sometimes my workflow is something like it's actually personal. It's not something everyone can actually dive in and be using. So that's why I said it's actually a bit much more complex to explain. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. But imagining a background for your character can actually do work. if you're a type of person like me who doesn't love to paint the background with to the character all at once, it's quite tiring to be jumping all around back and forth. So it's better for you to focus on one particular area before moving to the other part of the artwork. So painting your character in an environment, first you can get sort of like a notebook and jot down all what you have in your mind about the character. Maybe she's in like a neon environment or urban or an alley where there's a lot of street lights coming from top, left or right. That's actually much more of a complex thing. But when it comes to a scene where you just have a character in this whole like middle of a forest, we can actually have different types of shadows coming in. But to make my life much more easier, then I decided maybe I should just let it be, not too much, like not too much shadows coming from different particular area. So that's how I got all of this done. So painting sort of like the lights bouncing on the character's skin, it's actually quite tiring. It took me a lot of time to get it right to make it feel natural on the skin. So when I got to this part, I was like, I don't want it to look flat. That's when I said, okay, maybe I should. It felt empty. Like when the character got a tattoo on her back now, the painting feels much more full. It feels much more full. It embodies like this character is a fierce character you're supposed to fear. No, just the character standing, right there. Like when I got the wolf walking here. The reason why I didn't quite use this wolf for the finishing of the painting is because like um I didn't quite know how to render the sort of like the silhouette of the wolf um um fur furry texture. And besides that, for some reason it feels a little bit awkward, because like the world feels like it's turning in sort of like a wrong way to me. It might actually feel good and people eyeball. I didn't actually feel the wolf presence in the artwork. That's why I actually changed the whole line work and silhouette of the way the wolf looks like. I wanted to feel much more like sort of like a portrait type. So painting the wolf is actually something a quite low on its own. So getting this sort of like texture of a wolf to feel natural and realistic on the wolf body, you have to get a lot of reference. Like, trust me, you gotta have a lot of reference for this type of setting. So, painting the wolf is quite hard or sort of simple when you don't think about the details. Like in an artwork like this, if you think about the amount of detail you gotta put in the work, you'll feel a little bit tired and messed up. Like you can't do this, it's too much. But you just go and start from small, then build big. Then that's when I shaded the wolf with the furs and added the light, the way I said, the light coming from the sky. It's bounced on the wolf too. So to make the composition feel like the wolf and the character, they are in the same environment. So it actually do work. So for the final piece, it's just about putting all the details together. Oh yeah, so before I forgo, I actually got this sort of like an idea for like a rock monster and dropped down like the coat of a rock monster, and but I can't, it felt too rough and the silhouette of the rock monster and feels too much the same as the silhouette of the character, so we can't actually know the difference between the rock monster and the hair of the character. So that's why I actually removed that part of the painting. Then this one I said to, like I said, the wolf. Oh yeah, sorry, I think I actually have the finished piece here. Sorry for, I apologize for the one speaking right now. Yeah, because I'm a little bit tired from the stress. I just did another artwork. I just finished another artwork in 8 days. So yeah, that's it for all of this first piece, and I hope you guys got something from this. Now let's move to the second one. Third, um, so this second piece, it's actually one of my favorite pieces from Olive, or the four storytelling pieces. So I first got this sort of design for the character. I go it all for my head. It started with this sort of like a cinematic dialogue, where I wrote these like all dressed up in their stupid mask, walk too ashamed to show your real face. Yeah, so that line of dialogue actually get me this sort of idea of a character looking like sad and so savage, looking at someone in front of her, like saying, do you even know what you're doing? You know, that type of emotion. That's what I want to actually explore when I did this piece. I didn't actually want to explore, maybe it's not about the how pretty she is. I wanted her to feel alive and dangerous and emotionally charged. You know, that's why I made the silhouette of the character this sort of like triangular shape. So, moving on to the second piece. So I used the classic triangle composition, letting the katana on the left balance the air, um and the butterfly. In my imagination, I already got this sort of like butterfly in this sort of like world to show that there's a fight coming up or a fight is just finished. That's why I added this sort of like butterfly stuff to it. But during the compositioning area for this piece, it's actually quite tiring because when I first added the base color, I was like, okay, it's forming, but I didn't actually want it to look too pale or too flat 2D. So that's when I was like, okay, let's just keep adding colors. Even though from our first shot of the character from the back, the coloring actually have this sort of like a less sort of warm color. It's not as bright as this one, because in this image, you know, the character from the back, the camera and the tree from the back is actually covering the character silhouette of the color. It's not fully bright, but in which in the front foreground frontier face of the character, we can actually see the way the light brightens up to the character due to the fact that there are butterflies flying all butterflies, I'm sorry, a bunch of butterflies flying all around the sort of like background of the character. So I decided, okay, how would this lightning scenario work for this piece that would make it feel tied to the first one we first did, that would make it feel like a different entire frame. I want it to feel like the same frame, not different frame. So that's why I added this sort of like cool tone to still embody the fact that she's still in the same spot, the snow ground area. This scene, it's actually set to something like she saw someone in front of her. I wanted it to this piece to illustrate the story of she saw someone in front of her. That person wears like a mask, so we can't actually see the person. She's still foreshadowed. And yeah, moving to the continuation where I continued with the rendering. So here, since the rendering for the skin tone is actually balanced, I actually felt like, okay, we can keep improving this sort of composition. So Misha design mixes this sort of like modern allo with traditional warrior energy. Our outfit our outfit is actually glossy texture, almost latex like, in at boldness and dominance. While our accessories, the earrings, necklace, and like the script on our arm, that I actually already envisioned because I wanted it to feel like a movie. A movie instead of a movie poster, like a frame from a movie, a frame like we screenshotted it from a movie. So the katana on her back, the marking and snowflakes in her hair, like all of that tells you she's a fighter, not just a pretty face. Actually, I paid special attention to the face. To the face, it's not just beauty, it's tension. Look at her eye. She's calm, but she's pissed. That slight blush, it's not shyness, it's very like held back. So getting all of these sort of design down, it can actually make your character communicate more with this sort of like the audience. When you're creating a character, the only reason I made pull off this sort of sleeve is because it's not that I want her to feel um intimate to the audience. Nope. It's that like she's actually alone. Like it's actually like we're spying on the character. She's actually alone, so she can pull off the sleeve of her outfit. Like no one is there. Like in the snow ground, like it shows this sort of like embodiment of she doesn't even care if it's snowing or it's cold. I do what I want. That's the type of story she's actually the sort of piece is actually saying. So for the rendering, yeah, I sort of blended a semi-realistic style with stylized features. Like think of it like combining anime eye with 3D airflow and real lightning principles. Like her skin has this soft gradient glow, especially around the collarbone. Yeah, I contrasted that with sharp detail in the outfit and hair strand, like the butterflies. Like I imagine this sort of like, yeah, this sort of like final composition. Yeah, this of okay, sorry. Yeah, okay, like the butterflies. Yeah, the butterflies were fun to draw because it's actually had this sort of like interesting silhouettes to the entirety of the background. Not just like the background is just snow, it feels dull if we remove, like imagine um if we remove the the butterflies from the background, it makes it feel so dull, and there's not actually nothing covering. There won't be a realistic lightning setting up that makes the light on the face and that shines the light upon the face. Yeah, so adding the butterfly gave the character, the background, and the environment of the piece more life. So, and also, like the quote at the bottom is everything. It adds voice, tone, and character. Without it, the image is beautiful, but with it, the scene talks to you. You feel a sarcasm, disgust at strength. I want people to imagine the person she's speaking to. Maybe it's a masked warrior, maybe it's someone she used to know. But when you read that line, suddenly you're not just looking at the art, you're watching a moment in a story. So that's all about it for this second piece. Now let's move to the third one. For this third piece, as you can see, I went through quite a lot of work with this one because like sometimes it just feel like your brain soul fails you sometimes. As I've been saying, like most of my lightning scenario I go all for my imagination and some a little bit of references that I found on Pinterest. But for this third scene, I tried the same thing because I was like, maybe the character should stand tall like this. The wall should be queued on the ground because that's the continuation of the story. A character that we haven't shown our face. She's the one who killed Misha's wolf, Leora. So then I was like, maybe she should stand tall like this, but actually quite didn't fit the entire composition of the story we've been um continuing since the first short. And yeah, so then I moved to, okay, maybe I should show this sort of like foreshadowing of all from the back. So the sort of design I add for the character is like an archer character, but also I was indecisive, like how, because I already planned out like a full concept story for the continuation of this piece. Like maybe instead of her being an archer, then she won't be able to fight with someone with a sword like Misha. Then I was like, maybe she should have this sort of like side, um the side, but later its goal somehow too overlapped, like the composition of the character, the design of the character, it got to like solve too much. Then I was like, okay, maybe I should change the silhouette of the character. And also I had problems with something like, okay, let me turn off some layers. Yeah, yeah, I got a little problem for sort of like the way the arrow is supposed to be pointed at, where the arrow is supposed to be pointed at. First of all, I go an idea for maybe the arrow should be pointed to the front, to the front like this. Um, yeah, to the front like this. But for some reason, it actually looked weird. But then I was like, maybe I should just leave it on top like this to my leg. Look better than what I expected. So I moved down from this sort of composition of the character design to adding grayscale, because giving a character grayscale can actually make, I realize sometimes when you use grayscale, it do actually helps, like they say, in setting up lightning scenario and the background of the composition of what you actually have in your head. So it helps you lay down the fundamentals of the way your light and shadows will come across. Because when I got to this point in the painting, I don't actually have this good sort of sense of where the light or shadow is coming from. But then when I started with a grayscale, it actually made me much more, a little bit more comfortable and much more relaxed that I go something down. And this is why sometimes the lesson I learned in this is like, you should try your best to be getting out of your comfort zone sometimes, so you can make good works and good artworks even in anything you're doing, not just in art alone. So yeah, when so in this piece we have a light coming from the direction of the um heavens, the clouds. It's balanced upon the cape the character is wearing here. So for you who doesn't know, this character is the maxed character Misha was talking about, the character with a max. So I wanted this sort of piece to show like a climax in this sort of like a movie, an entrance of a character. So, and I think this actually doing it pretty well, because, and at first I thought I was going to give the character this sort of like sleeve of armor, but I didn't quite know maybe it's going to fit the character. Like maybe okay, we should have this sort of like light that shines upon this sort of like texture of um the armor sort of sleeve. I didn't actually know maybe it's gonna fit the character. It felt like the design would be as overlapped as the one I did here that I hated. So yeah, moving on from this grayscale, it actually helped me lay out the colors on top of the character. When I started putting in the colors, I was like, I want this color of the character, the second character outfit, to fit the mood or the overall composition we have been following. So then, this character I wanted to set out to this sort of like fire, this sort of fire character with energy that brings in the flames into the old drama and setting of the story. But later, for some reason, I thought maybe it wouldn't fit R. I should rather give that to the other character. Then that's the reason why I go a red bracelet here to embody like someone fierce, dangerous. But I changed it to um this sort of like blue blue sort of jade bracelet. So then rendering of the capo. A capo is something that's actually complex because dealing with complex details like this, like I said, I would love to advise a lot of people when you detailing something as some in a piece that's so complex, you shouldn't actually think about the way the amount of detail you're going to add in a work. If you're thinking about it, it will make you a bit much more slower and tired to start. Like when you scare yourself too much, you can't actually bring anything good out. Because when I got to this point in the painting, when I knew the amount of detail I'm going to put inside of this cat pool, I felt a little bit tired to do it. So it took me like 2 to 3 days to just take a full blown break. Like I don't actually want to touch the work anymore. But when I added the color, when I refined from the grayscale to adding color, shadow, and light on top of the character, I felt a little bit much more happy. Like okay, now let's go with the flow. Then like I said, I removed the armor and well, like I just ammo and glove away from the character. The end was a little bit naked right here. There was no sleeve or glove on it, but I felt it will feel it ruins the sort of like composition of the character, overall character, especially if we look at it from a far distance. It doesn't quite fit in the mood we're trying to tell in the story. Because if you're aiming for something that feels cinematic, you gotta make sure the most darkest thing in the frame is closer to the camera. So that's when I thought to myself, okay, let's make the skin a little bit much more tan than the other character and add a glove to this character, to the second character, to embody like she is a fierce fighter too. So from there, I keep on adding details to the character and also painting this fox. I meant wolf, sorry. So painting this wolf is like something else. Like in this piece, what I add the most is like painting the wolf. Like the amount of detail you have to put into making this wolf feel um real and also in a way that stylized, not overtly real, much more realistic than the character. So it was actually a tough one. But I'm really happy the way this piece actually panned out. So yeah, I think that's all about this piece. And I know we can't actually talk about everything depending on all of this piece, but any question you all have, you can say it down in the comment section. So now let's move to the last but not least piece. Yeah. So this last piece got me stressed out the most, especially due to the fact of the perspective and expression of the character. Like when I first drew this second piece, the expression of the character actually looked good, but for something like my style, I don't want it to feel too much cartoonic, or I should say, lean towards too much of this sort of anime, um, facial or mouth expression. So, I tried my best to reconstruct the face, so I liquefied it a little bit when I got to the grayscale. Like when I used the grayscale in the third piece, that's when I knew grayscale can actually help you when it comes to divining character figure and the way the lights bounced upon the character. So since then I've been using grayscale, but I still go learn more how to use it because still feels so hard to use. And yeah, so painting this character, I go a lot of problem when it comes to um doing the way the sword come across the face. Because first the sword was in this coming. The sword was in this particular area before. Let me use a deeper brush stroke. Sorry. Yeah, the sword was in the different perspective area like this before. Then it felt like it's clinging onto the neck of the character too much. So when you drawing a scene, you should think about the way the character movement is, how the character is posing. Does it look fine or does it look a little bit wonky or weird? So all of those things, when you put that into thinking when you creating a piece and to make your artwork stand out much more real and alive, the audience you're showing your work to will feel your work more. And in this sort of thing, I wanted to feel like Mulan from, is it a Disney movie or Sony? I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to feel like, I wanted to set the character to feel like Mulan in this sort of like action packed movement. So given the character movement, I was like, I want the airflow to be sure. Like now I had more experience. Like before I was like, cause the character is much more longer in the beginning pieces we did. Like I should also make it longer here. But what I actually realized is, for some reason I felt like I should have made it a little bit much more shorter depending on the story. Like that's the one of the hardest thing I just learned in art, that it depends on the mood your character is in. That's what you use to create the character, or I should say use to draft the character down. A character might have a longer inner piece, and in the next scene you might make the character feel shorter depending on the mood and the feeling you want the viewers or your audience to feel when they're looking at your artwork. And of course, when you're creating artwork, you shouldn't just think about um the way the work should look like. You should think much more about, if you're a fan, would you love to see something like this? You know, if you think much more like that, your work will be much more better than it used to be. And yeah, when I got to painting the air, I was super happy with the way the air rendering turned out. It feels a little bit if the real sort of painting here. But when I the thing this last piece was supposed to be my favorite piece. But what got me a little bit confused and why I didn't like the piece anymore is because of the amount of struggles I went through when making it. Like when I was painting the character skin tone, it was a little bit too bright compared to the one we started from the start. The ones we did first, they go a little bit of tan skin, much more leaning into this sort of like reddish vibrant warm color. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, something like this. But this lean into much more yellowish color, you know, much more warm color, like the sun is out, you know. Um, it's not actually bad because if a flame is busting out of the sword, like I already imagined, if a flame is busting out of the sword, it's pretty much realistic if the skin tone is a little bit much more brighter than the ones we did before. But I think it will this piece would have looked better if I had made it in a skin tone like this. So maybe in a later time when I do a remastered version of this artwork, I might actually try to use this sort of like skin tone for the character. So yeah, when after this I was like, okay, I don't want to use this skin tone. It looks too bright. Then I went back to this grayscale, then added a color upon it. Then I felt okay, maybe it's going to look good. Then after hours of rendering, I got to this point where I felt this piece looks good here, but it didn't quite fit um this sort of like expectation. It didn't meet the expectation I had. Like, the nose bridge. When I got to this point in the artwork, that's when I realized the nose bridge of the character feels a little bit too show. It's a little bit too show, too much like a Disney cartoon, too much too small, like I said, just too small. Like I should have made it a little bit longer. But going back to making it a little bit longer after maybe when I keep rendering, I can liquefy it and change it all up. But I was like, maybe let me just leave it like that. So that's why I said in this piece, when I do maybe a remastered version of it, I can actually add I can actually change this sort of like a wrong sort of nose angle and the mouth expression that looked weird. No, the mouth expression didn't look weird, it just looked somehow a little bit cartoonish. And yeah, so in this point I got to adding details to the character. I wasn't quite sure maybe I should make the character's sword burst into flames, or I should just leave it as a random sword. So that was actually an idea that was hard for me to decide on. So moving to adding details to the piece. So I got to the last place where I added a little bit of more rendering refinements to the piece. It actually look good, quite look good when I'm looking at it right now. So, and as you can see, the character is in like motion of speed. That's when I add this sort of like moving blur to the background to make it feel like the character is running, and the character sword busted into flames. The subtitle didn't show you. The character sword busted into flames cause the other character named Thalira killed a wolf. And yeah, I would love to continue this universe anytime I'm less busy, when I don't have a lot to do, and I'll try my best to be doing much more a better video than the one I'm doing right now, and trying to use grayscale for you all who can't actually do the same type of workflow I use. So I'll try my best to learn more how to use grayscale, so I can teach you guys my techniques of using grayscale to making this sort of level of artwork. And yeah, so that's it all for these sets of this month. No, yeah, of last month, not this month. Yeah, so thank you all for watching my Patreon video. Thank you guys for supporting me here on Patreon, and I'll try my best to be making better videos like these. And yeah, so thank you. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.